Hey, what up, Yuga Clan? It's NedUIGO here. Thanks for coming back to another video. I wanted to kind of preface this by saying that this topic that I'm about to go over for, when to play hand traps, when to play board breakers, and when to maybe not play any, is prefaced by the decks that we're about to analyze have a very specific hand trap count, and these players have found success at the highest level with these lists. So, this is not me saying, this is the best list, this is what you should do, this is the only correct list. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm trying to portray here is if you look at the top lists, and I'm sure most of you have, um, to take a deeper look into why they've played the list the way they have and why they've put the number of hand traps or non-engine that they have in the list. Um, and to just, take a second and appreciate the fact that they've made it this far, right? Like they've had enormous success in these top events, right? So, yeah, let's start off with our first question here that we're going to be going through, which is when to play hand traps. Well, when do you play hand traps? When mainly you want the deck to stop the opponent. Um, Generally, you want to play more hand traps when your deck is a little more susceptible to getting stopped itself. Because, like, if you get stopped, then you'll at least have like 3 to 4 in hand to stop your opponent, and so on and so forth. You just top deck, right? In this case, with what makes Mitsuraizel so exceptionally good is that it has a lot of one card starters. So you have 2, 4, 6. I don't think these guys are starters, right? So you have 6 starters that get to Ryzeal. You have 9, technically, 10, 11, 11 starters, and on top of that, you have 14. So, like 14, essentially one card starters that will get you to full combo regardless is kind of insane. Um, and yeah, like the one card starters also plays a factor into playing more hand traps because if you have one card that can get you to everything that you need, then it just makes more sense to lower everything else down on the deck count and play more hand traps, right? This list was from top 8 at NAWCQ from Clifton. Saw him. Looked like he played pretty well. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. I don't know why I was forgetting something else. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 16 with the nib. But yeah, like just overall, really solid list. And um, with the additional non-engine, you've got 17, 18 there with, cross and everything else, right? And he's only playing one ritual. So where I'm going with this is he kept it at 40, and they're all I think pretty sure the rest except for was it 3, 4, with the exception of 4 cards in the deck that are non-engine, maybe ritual I guess, so 5, with bonfires 6, rise across 7. So like 7 compared to I think I said 14, one card starters. I like those odds. Those odds are pretty good. And like the one card starters can also act as extenders, which is insane, right? To think about the math totally is in their favor. So yeah, that's kind of when you like no matter what deck you're building, if you're playing a if you're playing a deck that has the ability to have one card starters in the main deck, then you do want to load it up with hand traps, in my opinion. Um, because like 2 card combos, you can't afford to, have a crap ton of hand traps in the main and expect you to have consistency, right? So it's just not, it doesn't work like that, right? So first thing is like if you're building a deck, recognize, is your deck 1 card combo starters or are they 2 to 3 card combo starters, right? Very important to recognize. Now let's get into VSK9 here, right? So this is kind of going to be your standard VSK9 list. At 41 cards. And if you observe here, you have Fua and Ash. Essentially, I mean, Bastille's aside, you have Fua and Ash, and that's it, right? The deck does not play that many actual hand traps, but it does play what is a 6. I don't think Lupus is quick effect. Oh, I lied. So you can special from hand or grave, but you have to have a level 5 on field anyways. But this is interesting, right? So you have 6, essentially, Azuna and Holy Sue ways, 6 more ways to interact in your opponent's turn. So, really, you're kind of 12, but the other 6 are in engine, so it's a different build, right? It's different than in the past. Point being here is that they're playing essentially 6 true like hand traps, but mainly not mainly engine cards, right? So that leads to my next point is like maybe not playing no non-engine for hand trap wise, but getting close to it. And this is a scenario where you may want to consider that. Even like not playing the Ash and Fuas, which I know may sound ludicrous, but sometimes you have to consider it. Like not Ash isn't always necessary to play in the main. Although it may be great, depending on your list and depending on how you want to play the deck, you may not need it. So take that in consideration. Like for example, the old list, the Vanquisher lists right now are compensating for the lack of Izunas, right? The Dark and Earths here for the canine stuff, and they're throwing hand traps in, which is forced, right? The deck doesn't really want to play more hand traps because the only one card starters are Rosin and Madlove, which is fine, but you can't special them out unless you have Holly Sue, and Holly Sue needs the right attributes. So it's a whole like circle of life thing going on there. And anyways, point being, deck likes engine, needs engine, can play through a lot when it does have engine. So yeah. Now engine, great. Hand traps, great. If you understand those two things, then you can get fun. You can have some fun with going second. So board breakers, right, guys? So let's go into Gem Knight list here. And shout out to Matt if you're watching this. He almost made top 64. I think he was like one round away. And yeah, he was on Gem Knights, but this is like peak, right? Going second. Notice there's no imperms in this. There's no ash blossoms in the main. There's no I think they're not even the side. Yeah. So this guy went full going second OTK, right? So I like this because the theory when you have a deck that can go first, but just inherently is better going second, adhere to those strengths, right? So another deck that I like to give an example of is Unchained Fiendsmith or Psychics, the two decks that I've been considering recently. Both have um, great opportunity to go first, but they also don't play well into Fua, right? They just get killed to Fua. So what do you do? And Gem Knights have a similar thing. What do you do when you can't play through Fua and you don't have the Ash? Well, you just go second. If the deck can already play through a lot of interruption, why not? And the biggest thing is you eliminate the threat of these guys going first. So you don't have to worry about getting Fluid or Pirelliad if you're going second. So the theory, which is a great theory, is if your opponent has, let's just say they already have like 3 Fluid in the main, that's 3 cards that are dead on like your turn when you're going second, right? So they already have 1 card in hand that's just a waste of space almost. And you're going to their board with like droplets and everything else, right? We'll get into that in a second. But like these, I don't count really these as hand traps, and I'll tell you why. Because they don't get you to hand. It doesn't stop your opponent from playing. Like mentally, it may, but like really, what they do is enable your deck to play more because they're forcing either your opponent to play a different way or give you draws, which lets you play more, right? And we all love playing more. So yeah, the Pirelli is here, obviously going to let you see into the lightning storms, the droplets, the thrust, engine cards, right? Engine cards. You want to be able to play the game more. And, that's just the goal of going second, honestly. And if you're playing board breakers, you want to have a deck that has, I would say, not only 1 card starters, but extenders. I think it's important to have extenders for a deck that main decks board breakers because you need ways to push past 1 interruption at least. You can count on your opponent if they're playing hand traps and you stop them, or even if they have like a full board, you want to be able to account for, like, for example, let's just say you have like Nephrim and Droplet, right, which is just an insane start, but like I don't know, let's say they try to imperm your Nephrum, you chain droplet, you dodge it, and then they try to ash it when it's sent to grave, right? Um, uh, or sorry, not ash it, but like bell it, right, or something. They try to bell it and stop it from getting back on field or something like that, right? That's just an example. I don't know the deck in and out. Just an example. Um, you got to be able to account for like one other hand trap. Like if you can't play, if you need the Nephrim for whatever reason on board, and you need that on board and you can't play through that, like that's important. That's a big deal. So you do need at least one way to extend, I think, if you are playing board breakers, because the board breakers are there for accounting for what's on board and maybe grave. But yeah, you want to be able to have your engine push through at least 1 to 2 interruptions. And in some cases, just push through a lot, right? Like sometimes you can just push through every interruption known to man. And yeah, just chill, sit on that, right? Sit on your engine. So yeah, and that's the deck building style that I think you should go with if you are building a certain style of deck. So again, hand trap wise, need 1 card starters if you're going to play a lot of hand traps. If you're not going to play board breakers or hand traps, make sure you're playing a lot of engine. Like if you're playing low hand traps, make sure your engine goes hard. Like in some cases, you could have a mix of these two, right? Where you have a lot of like if you're playing board breakers, but you're also playing a lot of engine, for example, Unchained, um, just play cards that enable the engine more, right? Like a mix. Like you want a healthy mix with thrust and board breakers and getting an engine at the same time. So yeah, that's gonna be it for me. So I hope you guys enjoyed that talk and you learned something. Check out the shorts and merch on my channel. You'll be seeing me with them at like the YCSs and everything. So yeah, appreciate you guys, and I'll catch you next time. Don't forget to check out the merch.